Andreas.
Right.
We have an altcoin question.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Sure.
So yeah, I was just wondering what your opinion is on rising powers such as Litecoin and Dogecoin. How do you see them relevant in the future, and what kind of changes do you see kind of them making to the landscape?
So great. So how many of you have heard of altcoins? Oh, great. Everybody knows about altcoins.
There you go.
So, in the dawn of the internet, one of the things that gave power to opinion was the fact that only a few organizations could publish opinion. And so we learned to trust opinion based on who published it, not what it said. And the internet changed that. And the first thing the internet did was it removed the certainty of whether an opinion is right or not. And we had to learn to reevaluate opinion based on its content, not its publisher. We had to learn that a blogger in Egypt on the ground who is witnessing the revolution has a better opinion about it than the New York Times, even though they don't come with the authority of the publisher. Bitcoin is doing something really interesting to currency. Currencies gained monetary value because they could only be created by governments with sovereign nations behind them. With cryptocurrencies, a 5-year-old with a web-based graphical user interface can create Joey Coin and launch it amongst his friends to compete against Maria Coin in a primary school. We need to get comfortable with the idea that currencies now derive their value through adoption by the people and not through the publisher or issuer of the currency. And that has some very interesting implications. One of the implications is that we will not have 10 altcoins or 100 altcoins or even 1,000 altcoins. We will have hundreds of thousands of cryptocurrencies, possibly millions of cryptocurrencies. We will have cryptocurrencies representing brands, cryptocurrencies serving as IPOs for companies, cryptocurrencies for celebrities, cryptocurrencies representing fads and memes that come and go and disappear in a week, cryptocurrencies created by primary school children. And of these cryptocurrencies, very few will achieve monetary value, those that are adopted. But something very weird will happen. One day a coin like Doggy Coin, created based on the slogan, or rather the mascot, of a Japanese breed of dogs, and achieving critical mass in a surprisingly short period of time, could end up being the primary transaction means in a small African nation that has no idea who built this or what this dog thing is. But because 30 or 40% of the population in that country accept it as valuable, it has monetary value. We will be surprised as to coins that suddenly achieve monetary value by crossing the threshold from fad to powerful economy simply by the means of adoption. And that threshold won't be clear. It will be difficult to estimate when a currency achieves critical mass and becomes monetarily important. And it will also be surprising because it won't be the currencies we expect necessarily. At the same time, Bitcoin, having established itself as the granddaddy of cryptocurrencies, or the grandmom of cryptocurrencies, will serve as the reserve currency, providing value for the others. Out of the 100 and so cryptocurrencies that are on the market today, the vast majority of them can only be bought for Bitcoin, which means that Bitcoin has already become a reserve currency of all of the alts. And I expect that to continue. Right. Sure.
Could you provide some insight on why or how Bitcoin blew through the banking committees in Washington in 2013 in a favorable sense?
You mean the Senate hearings?
Yes.
Yeah, me too,
I
right?
think there's a number of factors.
John. So this is kind of to circulate back to the altcoin question. You mentioned that Dogecoin is kind of, the central developers can be Joe Smo. which I completely agree with because I've seen a release of completely crap coins. Actually, there's CoinGen.io, which will actually create a template. All you have to do is pay 0.1 BTC to them, and they'll just kind of release that coin.
They'll make a coin for you, and that's how
Correct.
Joey is going to release a coin in his primary school. Yeah.
Correct, perhaps. But the point that I do disagree with you is that this software is open source, right?
Yeah.
Anyone can edit this software, and if it has a strong backing behind the community, that means that the community could actually make this software stronger, right? They could perhaps make it even better than Bitcoin.
Sure.
So that's where I kind of disagree with you. I mean, this is completely open source software. You know, anyone can edit this. Anyone can create their own additions to this. What's your opinion on that?
Again, I'm going to go back to some of the things I know through the network effect. Network effect is a phenomenon first described by Bob Metcalfe in 1984, who said the following: if you have two nodes on a network and you add a third node, that node acquires value in the network. But what it also does is it increases the value of the network for the other two nodes, because now they have one more place to connect to. So if you have two people with a fax and you have a third person with a fax, you made faxing better for the first two people because they have one more person to send to, right? Bitcoin exhibits network effect, but it exhibits network effect in a monetizable way we've never seen before. Because not only does it have the network effect of 100,000 nodes and increasing at exponential rates,
Right.
it has the mind share of the developers who have learned cryptocurrencies through Bitcoin, the invested capital of silicon ASIC machines that are used for hashing, the massive network hashing power that creates an extremely secure infrastructure that is very hard to break, and hundreds of startups behind it.
Mhm.
I think the people who are designing altcoins are underestimating how big that network effect.
Right. But they're
And
creating a better entryway for other people who
they're going
are
to
smaller.
we're going to see better altcoins. But again, better doesn't win. Good enough that achieves network effect scale wins. TCP/IP was not the best protocol for doing transmission control.
Right.
And many people invented other protocols and they could never take off. In fact, TCP/IP's network effect is so huge that despite the fact that IPv4 has massive flaws, for the past 16 years we've been trying to upgrade it to IPv6, and it has become so resistant to upgrade that we have failed to beat IP with IP. We can't even upgrade the damn thing.
I would agree with that. However,
Now-
that's due to corporation adoption. In this case, it's community adoption. In this case, it's the people, and that's decentralization.
Yeah, people are sticky. The network effect of Bitcoin is huge. Now, we might see an altcoin eventually take over from Bitcoin. That is a possibility. I think that happens primarily if Bitcoin falls flat on its face because of an internal problem, because of a massive bug introduced by sloppy developers. I very much doubt that's going to happen. The network effect is huge, but even if Bitcoin is eclipsed as the transactional coin, it still has, due to its sheer weight at the moment, a massive store value effect. So if something else comes along, which is the diamond of currencies or the silver of currencies, that doesn't mean the gold goes away. In fact, what it does is it validates the idea of cryptocurrencies and therefore gives the original cryptocurrency even more worth as a backing currency. But, you know, we can go on this. I don't really know where this is going. One thing to realize is we now have a free market of currencies. The people around the world can make a choice to pick a currency that expresses their political and economic expectations, whose algorithms express a monetary policy that they agree with, and they can not only pick that, but they can also exit and enter that currency as quickly as they want from anywhere in the world. That means that the market from cryptocurrencies will contain cryptocurrencies that are extremely robust and very well thought out, and the most ridiculous pump and dump scam coin you've ever seen, 10,000 of those. And we see that already. What it does again is you have to decide the value of the cryptocurrency based on its fundamental functions, how it's built, who built it, whether the team is keeping up with maintenance, if the monetary policy is correct. if there are enough transactions and merchants on the network, and if it's adopted by users. So we now have to evaluate every currency on its own merits. Just like on the internet, we cannot rely on authority and have to evaluate every opinion on its own merits.
For those of you that might have traded, that's the pink sheets on the NASDAQ circa late 90s.
Yeah, exactly.